Now the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item is review of the agenda. Any additions, questions, or comments?
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
A motion by Ms. Hall. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Ritchie. All in favor?
Aye.
Passes 5-0. Next is consider approval of the minutes for the September 6th and 26th meeting. Do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion by Ms. Ritchie, second by Mr. Dorsey. All in favor?
That was big.
Mr. Bennett, sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Did you vote on that one? Oh, okay.
That one I did.
Okay.
The next one.
The next one is consider approval for the minutes on September 19th.
I'll make that motion.
Make a motion, Ms. Ritchie has a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Bennett. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 4-0. Mr. Bennett was, Mr. Dorsey was,
You're all right.
Mr. Dorsey was absent. Too many misters up here. All right.
Like that forever.
I know. Next is student and staff recognition. Miss Christy Bush.
We have a lot to recognize this evening, and we're going to start out with our STLP. The Student Technology Leadership Program uses project-based learning principles to empower student learning and achievement. STLP provides a means for students to design, make, connect, and learn through technology utilization and creation of original digital content. Students produce with projects and serve our showcase through local, regional, and state events. The Big Three event includes regional, CDA, and STLP state competitions. That's a mouthful. RDC's STLP participants in all Big Three this year, achieving STLP Gold status. And it is very challenging, I understand, to do this, but rewarding and optional activities that include and involve every student in the program. And this is the 4th year in a row for these students. And RDC, at this time, we would like to congratulate the STLP for their gold status for achievement and recognition. And if Ms. Harden would come, Mr. Howard, and recognize your individual students for their successes. And we thank you.
Thank you. So these kids, it's actually from the previous year that you earned gold status. So these girls are 9th graders. So I'm so glad some of you came and didn't leave me by. So Mahi Patel, Sam Hayes,
We got a picture. We gotta get a picture. How far are you gonna save the picture? Yeah. I bet Martin so emotional.
Don't go anywhere. These young ladies could not have accomplished this without a wonderful and fearless leader, Ms. Demonte Parton. Our next group is our George Rogers Clark FFA. The national chapter rating recognizes outstanding FFA chapters from throughout the country that have actively implemented the mission and strategies of the organization. These chapters improve chapter operations using the National Quality FFA chapter standards and a program of activities that emphasizes growing leaders, building communities, and strengthening agriculture. Chapters are awarded for providing educational experiences for the entire membership. The chapter, our Clark County chapter, has reached gold rating, and this year we are the national 3-star rating for Clark County Public Schools for GRC. And at this time, if we could have our members please come up and be recognized as a group.
So this was, because you're such outstanding leaders, you guys are gonna look, introduce yourselves to the crowd, first name, last name, how many years you been in FFA? Go, take the lead.
My name's Caleb Green. I serve as our parliamentarian. I have been in FFA all 4 years of high school, and I'm a senior now.
Everybody clap. I'll let him do the introduction. We'll go back a ways.
I'm Cole Horn. This is my 3rd year in FFA. I'm a junior, and I'm serving as our chapter's treasurer this year.
I'm Logan Thomas. This is my 4th year in FFA. I am the vice president, and I'm a senior.
I'm Abby Horn. I'm serving as our chapter reporter this year, and this is my 3rd year in FFA. I'm Sarah O'Hare. I'm serving as our chapter sentinel, and this is my 3rd year. I'm a junior.
My name's Daniel Townsend. I'm serving as the chapter president, and I started in middle school, so I'm on my 5th year of being an FFA.
Oh, you're not
Also, I would like to add that they are ranked in the top 18 in Kentucky. Ready?
All right, now, Mr. President, all the success of Clark County agriculture could not be done in a silo. You've got 4 fearless leaders in the back. Would you take a minute to introduce them and have them come up?
Yes. So starting on the left, Derek Knight. And then Shane Wyman. And then Tara P. Last but not least, Kyle Porter.
You left them. The light on your face. Oh, yeah. You guys all in? I guess so. All right, boys, we're going to be it.
All right, here we go.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Tonight, we would like to recognize a business in Clark County who always answers our calls to promote daily, weekly, and monthly awareness and celebrations. As you can see out front, we have our Red Ribbon Week. We celebrate various groups and days, and Mr. Boboli and his daughter always answer our calls and always are helpful in any way to help celebrate throughout the year. Please help me and congratulate Mr. Bowling and his daughter.
Congratulations. This way, okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's the way.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
September is recognized by the Kentucky League of Cities as a city government month. In Columbia, thank you very much. Ms. Joellen Reed, our Winchester mayor, issued a proclamation declaring September City Government Month in Winchester. After consulting with individuals from the school board, it was determined that the 5th graders at Baker Intermediate School would be participating in our City Government Academy. I believe it's the first one that we've ever. Yes. Over a period of 2 days, our fifth graders participated in Government Academy by going to the police department, fire station, industrial development authority, the city hall, and chamber of commerce. Please help us publicly to announce and thank our mayor very much and Ms. Lane for all the organization and all the time and effort you put into that. Thank you so much.
You're great to show the certificate. Yeah, move to the middle. Oh, you get a picture too. This on my wall in there. You superstars right here. Seriously, I appreciate it.
Go Cards.
Go Cards. I see it. She's drinking the Kool-Aid, all right.
This evening, we would like to celebrate two of our teachers, Ms. Toby Sadler. She has been involved in a Deeper Learning District team member. She has begun working on Thinking Math with Kindergarten. Last year, as part of that initiative, students were not only demonstrating a deeper level of thinking about math, literacy, and worldly topics, and this year she is continuing that with teaching them how to write about that as well. She has been one of our teachers for 22 years. Thank you so very much, and we'd like to congratulate you this evening for your hard work.
And now let me go turn this.
I watch.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Marty Frazier is our next teacher. He has been a Special Olympics coach for 18 years here in Clark County. He has volunteered for local programs called Stride that provide those with disabilities a day of programming for learning life and educational skills. Stride also participates in Special Olympic sports programs. Mr. Frazier helps coaching basketball, flag football, track and field, and bowling. Recently, Stride sent 3 softball teams to the state tournament where 2 of the teams won their leagues at the state championship level, and the others were runners-up. Many of these athletes are current or former Clark County Public School students. Please help me to congratulate and recognize Mr. Marty Frazier.
Makes me look better.
Can you take one of all 4 of us since they're concrete?
Absolutely.
They're concrete.
Everybody kind of filter out. All right, thank y'all. Thank you. Next on the agenda is public comments. No public comments, thank you. Next is student learning instructional services. Consider approval of MOA between Clark County Public Schools and the Pritchard Committee for Academic Excellence. Ms. Kelly Pippen.
All right, I am going to, you all already know Dr. Lindsay Hale, but underneath of her umbrella, she wears many hats for the district. And one of the things underneath her umbrella and her hat is to work on writing grants for our district. And that has been a big initiative and push for us this year, really searching for grants that would really match things that we're really focused on in the district. And Lindsay has been great in writing these grants, trying to acquire them, and is doing a phenomenal job. So I want to recognize her for that. She's doing phenomenal. And we are very excited to announce that we are a recipient of the Kentucky Community Schools Initiative Grant through the Pritchard Committee. So I'm going to turn it over to Lindsay, and she will then give a little overview and what that entails for our district.
This particular grant is, as she mentioned, through the Pritchard Committee.
It is for 2 schools in the district to receive over the course of 5 years, $1.5 million for the Family Resource and Youth Services Centers. Essentially, we chose to have Baker and Conrad apply because they were already family-friendly schools with the Pritchard Committee, and so we felt like that was a natural fit to go ahead and continue that relationship with them through our FRYSCs. Sort of just a short overview. The Pritchard Committee initiative that this grant is funding is for community outreach and family engagement in those 2 particular communities. The $1.5 million essentially will be spread out. Both schools will receive $75,000 the first year and $65,000 each year after that for years 2 through 5. The other $150,000 per year is to hire a okay.
It might not be the last one.
Is to hire a site director that is an overseer that directs or that reports directly to Mr. Howard to run the grant for both schools and to help bridge the gap between schools and community for Baker and Conrad. So we're super excited about it. We have a meeting on it Thursday, and we'll know more then. So we have the announcement, and our first meeting to get everything going is coming up.
It's awesome. It's awesome. Thank you. Yeah.
Super excited. Yeah. Any questions?
No, so what's in front of the board tonight is consider the approval of the MOA. Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Dennett,
I'll second.
second Ms. Hall. All in favor?
Aye.
Passes 5-0. Thank you all.
Thank
Thank
you
you so
all.
much. Next up is Student Support Services, Clark County Preschool Project Construction Update. Mr. Paul Christie and Brian Buckner.
Introducing Mr. Buckner here, Mr. Christie. They've made a lot of progress on the preschool as the weather has really been very cooperative recently. So we've got a slideshow here, and I'll turn it over to these guys and let them talk you guys through it.
Good evening, I'm Brian Buckner. I'm a senior project architect with Ross Tarrant. Been leading the progress here on the preschool project. Randy Berkshire, our principal in charge of my office, is also here in the back. I know that Paul has been doing a great job of kind of keeping everybody apprised on progress on the job site. And this is right now we're kind of at a pivotal point of the project. We've got slabs complete, so we wanted to go ahead and share some photos of the progress now that things are really kind of coming out of the ground and we're starting to see this building take shape. What you're going to see first, I know not everybody's had a chance to kind of drive by the project site. But as you do over the next couple of months, you're going to see a lot of changes happen. As I mentioned before, as we're getting the primary structural framing kind of coming up on the building, you're going to really start to see that take shape. So we'll go ahead and with that, the next slide here is actually an image of kind of what's happened from April through September from some drone photos. So you all can see the kind of floor plate of the building kind of taking shape, slab on grades finishing up here. And with the next slide, you will see what it looks like right now in October. So this was actually taken yesterday. So what you're seeing here on this image, obviously this is kind of looking up and down. The site work around the site has been mostly complete. All of the rough grading at this point is complete, which has allowed them to move forward with the construction and the placement of the building slab on grade, which is kind of what's creating this outline here. As that is finished, we've now moved into the phase where they're already starting to work on the kind of primary structural system for the building. I think as you all may recall from some of the discussions that we had during design on this particular project, both from a foundation standpoint and also from a speed during construction and procurement of material, we elected to move with move in the direction of doing a steel frame as a primary structure with the exception of the storm shelter. And I'll get into that in just a minute. What we'll see over the next couple of months here with this progress is that you're just see things happen very quickly. Aside from, when you're usually used to seeing CMU masonry construction, it takes a while, it's kind of slow going. But now that we've got steel, all that's going to come up really quickly. They were already finished on 2 areas of the building. They'll be moving on to the 3rd here in the next week. We have a progress meeting on Thursday, so we'll be out there taking a look at things as well. With that, they will then start to finish up the exterior cold form framing, which will then really start to kind of close in, and you'll really start to see the shape and the enclosure of the building envelope. So let's go to the next slide. A couple, Codell obviously is the construction manager on this project. I know they're not here tonight, but they've done a great job on this project. They've kept it for the most part right on schedule. They're navigating some really difficult times in terms of procurement issues, lead time issues, contractor shortages, and for us to kind of be where this project is right now, they've done really, really well. So want to make sure I definitely give a shout out to them in terms of the construction management on this process, but also reflecting and kind of highlighting some of the subcontractors that we have here. So, and breaking down some of the work that's occurred here over the past couple of months. So Frederick and May, which is doing the primary kind of site package on the building, they've completed the rough grading, they've completed the site storm system installation on the project. Rising Sun Development, which is doing the general trades, they have completed the retaining wall installation. They're also leading the way on getting the framing and things like that as part of that contract as well. CKSM is doing the drilling of the geothermal wells. That's wrapped up. That's complete at this point. They're doing the backfilling currently. Fade Electrical, they've completed the electrical rough-in at the storm shelter, and they're moving on to the areas of the building currently. East Kentucky Masonry, they're the primary mason on the job. They've completed the CMU walls in the storm shelter up to the lid portion of the building. And the only other area that we have CMU or concrete masonry units, cinder blocks, on this are one of the large kind of group restrooms near the multi-purpose room. That's wrapping up as we speak. Once the framing is complete in area A, they will then start to move on to the exterior veneer, starting to install the brick. SLA Enterprises is the steel contractor. They've completed the Area B steel, and I think by Thursday this week they'll have completed Area A. So they're moving pretty quick. Yeah. Yeah, they'll be back on site tomorrow. So obviously with steel kind of being delivered to the site, that's one of the linchpins in terms of making sure that we're moving forward in progress, according with the schedule and everything, to make sure that everybody else kind of behind them is tracking where we should be for the project schedule. And then Bennett's contracting is doing a lot of the interior work. They're working on the exterior metal stud framing, and then as the exterior envelope wraps up, they'll be able to move directly into the interior. So one of the nice things about doing the steel framing again is that it's allowing kind of multiple contractors and bid packages to be working in tandem. So whereas you may have had to construct all of these CMU walls before you can do the CMU, before you can do the roof, you can do those things a lot faster, and in some cases at the same time. Interior walls, roofing can happen simultaneously with that type of work. Let's go to the next slide. We'll show some photos. This is the geothermal well field. So this is for the primary mechanical system for the building. I think we're at 75 total wells that have been drilled, backfilled, all the lines have been run. And so they're now going back over and completing the kind of grading in that area right now. So next photo. This is the storm shelter for the building. So this actually encompasses and houses one of the small learning neighborhoods for the school. It's all CMU construction here. The outer walls are 12 inches thick. They've been filled with grout. So it's creating a concrete box around that. What you're seeing right here, all the shoring that's happening at the top of the walls, they're getting ready to finalize the interior shoring in the bottom of the formwork so that they can pour the lid. It's a 16-inch thick cap of concrete that will be sitting on top of these walls and the primary structural system of this portion of the building. So once that's all said and done, all the rebar, everything that joins those walls to the roof together, it's incredibly, incredibly strong. I mean, it really is kind of like it's a tornado shelter. It's a bomb shelter, basically. So next photo. This is Area B. This is the Area B classroom wing, another one of those small learning neighborhoods. The primary structural steel has been complete in this area. They've moved on to the exterior framing, and they've wrapped this up pretty much with lightning speed as that kind of happens. So we've got the exterior wallboard that's going on. You can see the cutouts for the windows on the classrooms there on the plain north side. And they are now, the framers are moving on to Area A, which you'll see kind of happening this side next will be the next grouping, and you can kind of see that the steel is already being placed there, the columns have been set, they're now placing the roof joists and beams for that location. Next photo. So I'm just gonna kind of flip through so you can see the overall amount of grading that's occurred on the site. A lot of work here to negotiate the grading and the drop off on the plain north side. So in order for this, kind of typical central Kentucky rolling hills, in order to kind of create the right kind of flat spot, we look to the high ground for the placement of this building to try to minimize the amount of site work that we have to do. But that still involved cutting and filling. A lot of the filling occurred on the north side, so that slopes down to the edge of the property line. But you can kind of see, again, that the rough grading package, all of that has been complete. Moving on next.
And that's on that grade, that's always a grade that's going to be easily maintainable once it's finished, all mobile grade.
The retaining wall, The retaining wall here that we've talked about a little bit is on this side. So this allowed, this grading to not have to slip over towards the plane east as much. Allow that to kind of negotiate and ease that transition there. Let's go to the next slide. So we tried to relate some of the ongoing construction to some of the renderings that we showed you all during the design process. So this is the front entrance to the building. If we flip to the next slide, you'll start to see how this is kind of taking shape. So you start to see the roof framing for the butterfly roof that goes over the media center has occurred. They've already set the outer perimeter framing. The framing on area A, classrooms, area B on this back side, they're finishing by wall framing. So you kind of see the transition, they're kind of moving clockwise around this building. Next, they will be doing once area A is complete, they'll be moving on to the alternate port of the classrooms, as well as the multi-purpose room, kitchen, cafeteria type space. Next slide. So this is the aerial view, this is the aerial rendering that we showed during design. And if you flip to the next slide, let's see where we are right now. So this is yesterday. So this kind of really goes to show, we've got a lot of the site staging, steel on site here, as they're kind of working on the area A portion and moving in that direction. They've already laid, again, I think you saw in one of the previous photographs, the deck, the roof decking, corrugated decking there. And next photo. So the future work coming up within the next month to 2 months. The storm shelter lid will be poured. Right now, I think they're slated the first pour for that on the 9th. So November 9th, they have that kind of tentatively scheduled for that to be poured. So they're rapidly working on getting the formwork constructed and finalized for that. Doors and frames will be installed on the exterior and interior as the walls start to go up inside. Spray foam installation will be occurring everywhere that they've got the board placed on the outer part of the building on the envelope. They'll start to go ahead and spray foam that. That spray foam can sit exposed for quite a long duration. It also provides a lot of kind of thermal comfort inside the building. Also protects the wall board and things like that that have been installed from moisture. The completion of the site domestic water, once that's all connected, they're going to begin the installation of the masonry veneer, obviously around area B, then moving into area A. They've almost completed the mock-up panel. We're just waiting on metal panels at this point to be able to go ahead and install that. They've got the brick already. Stud framing will continue, and steel installation in areas A, C, and the alternate should be complete within the next, I would say within the next month to 2 months. They'll have all the steel completed. Once they get all the primary steel up, they'll start to work on some of the steel detailing and some of the smaller kind of detail components. And then they'll start the roofing installation in area B first, and then again we'll follow that same trajectory around the building to install the roofing. So that's kind of where things are. A lot of work that's been happening. I know it's one of those things like when construction starts, especially on a site that's a little bit complicated and it involves a lot of site work, it takes a while for the building to really start to take shape and come out of the ground. But now that that's happened, we're going to start to see changes, on a week-to-week basis out there on the job site. So.
Yeah, I was actually out there over the weekend, and the pictures don't do it justice on how large this complex is. It really doesn't. So it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful school. One question I have is, months ago, there was a shortage of steel. Are y'all seeing that now? Are you getting steel in on a regular basis, or?
It was held up for about a week. When they got through in area B, they got the post set in the area A section, they were off. They moved the train out for a week. They're supposed to be back in tomorrow.
Okay.
They've got a lot of steel on site. Venice that's doing the framing right behind them is pushing them. And they're pushing the steel people. They're right on the heel. When they set posts up, the thing they're coming around putting studs in.
So really no issue with the steel now?
Yeah.
I mean, well, okay.
As long as they stay on schedule. One of the benefits of having a lot of kind of site work at the front end is that, almost all the shop drawings for the project were reviewed, approved, moved forward, in order for procurement to happen and things to get ordered, while they were doing site work. So I think we're at 225 sets of shop drawings that we've reviewed so far for the project, and so we only have a few stragglers left, but steel was one of the first things that came through. We knew that there were lead time issues, so that was certainly a benefit. SLA is a pretty big outfit, so they were able to get things in line and in queue so that it could be delivered on time. But that would be, if anything could potentially hold things up, it would be the steel package, making sure that is kind of coming and delivering and happening, because a lot, like, as Paul said, a lot of things kind of depend on that being installed first, so.
How far, I believe you're ahead of schedule, aren't you? Or on schedule, or where are you as far as like timing goes?
I think that if we were to really kind of nitpick the schedule, they're about a week to 2 weeks behind where they would like to be at this point. Now, with that said, they've come a long way. We have a lot of work that's happening here between now and the end of the year before kind of bad weather hits. And what you're seeing with the steel, with the types of framing that they're using, the roof insulation, all that's going to happen really quickly. They absolutely have the capacity to make up that time during that duration.
Okay. And I'm not gonna ask the $1,000 question because I know you don't know when it's going, the anticipated completion date. I mean, a lot of variables, I'm sure. So if anybody else wants to ask that, they can.
I think when we looked at the completion of the project, we're on track to make that completion date at this point. We are on schedule. The thing for us, I think that everybody was a little bit concerned with initially was what you get into with the site. I think that my experience, like Randy's experience, Paul's experience, we were very, very lucky on this project. I think that it's a testament to the extensive geotechnical surveying that was done here. We ran into a couple issues on the site in terms of the karst geography and the karst features that we have there. But the time frame, the weather that we had over the summer, all of those things kind of were a really perfect storm for them to really stay on track with things. And so again, with where they are with the schedule, again, Codell's really kind of hammering to keep things moving along. I see that they will make up that time. I don't see, unless we have some really, really terrible weather this winter that could hamper, roofing and things like that as we get into the colder winter months. I don't foresee there being a large lag in the schedule and in the completion.
So it sounds like you're trying to get under roof as quickly as possible,
Yes.
so during the bad weather you can work inside.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the more that they can do now, kind of ahead of December, January, the better.
Yeah.
This type of roofing that we're doing can occur in some level of inclement weather. We do have some temperature tolerances that we have to be within, but as long as the lightweight insulated concrete for the roof system can be placed before it gets really cold, the actual adhesion of the membranes and things like that can occur to some degree in colder weather. They just kind of have to be careful and give them some time to do that.
Yeah, I couldn't believe how much had been done over the last several weeks, as far as really grading too, because last time I was there, I couldn't even get down to the school.
The site's open now, from you can see down the bottom corner, the site's open to drive in from the Martin Luther King side. And probably as the weather gets worse, that's probably the way all the traffic will come in, all construction traffic and everything may come in that way, just to keep from tracking mud out into the subdivision.
We do have the track-off grates there at the project site entrance. Codell is doing, I think Codell's doing a great job in terms of keeping the disruption and sweeping everything like that on the streets as best they can. There's also construction work that's happening on that backside of the neighborhood that's also contributing to some of the debris in the roadway. But from Codell's standpoint, this particular project, I think they've done a great job keeping things as clean as possible without drifting on the streets.
Nice. Any questions? I think it'd be nice if you can maybe come back in next quarter, 3 months, 9 days, kind of give an update. What do you think? Is that good timing? I mean, is that appropriate? 3 months?
I'll come back whenever you want.
Maybe January meeting,
I would say
February meeting,
January, February,
Yeah.
to where the bad weather hits, we'll kind
Just
of
kind
know
of see where we're at.
Yeah.
There's gonna be, like I said, there's gonna be a lot of changes that happen kind of between now and then. So even if you all are out there to see things and we want to see a little bit more about, especially what's happening inside the building, you know, when we really transition from, what you're gonna see happen is you're gonna see the kind of exterior envelope of the building get constructed. They're gonna be working on the masonry and everything like that. And then you're not gonna see a whole lot of immediate visible changes outside, but you're gonna have a lot of work happening inside the building. So when that happens, you know, that would be also a really great time to make sure that we're doing more regular updates and showing photos and progress of how things are going inside as well, so.
Okay, awesome.
And just let us know when we get to that point, if you guys want to go on site and tour. And
Yep.
see it firsthand, and we could absolutely set something like that up.
Yeah. All right, thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda, consider approval of the 2024-25 calendar and 2025-26 calendar. Ms. Trish.
In the information that was sent to you before tonight's meeting, you see a parent survey, staff survey, and students from RDC, Phoenix, and GRC on their opinions of dates, days off, starting, ending. Do you have any questions about those 3 surveys?
Do not.
The purple calendar that you have in your drive was the calendar that is based on the information from those surveys. That calendar starts us on the 21st and goes until June. So when the calendar committee met, and there were 15 active members that evening, they came together and have 2 calendars for you to look at this evening. One is a tangerine color, and your second option is a green. So with those 2 calendars, if you would like to address those, or would you like to put the purple calendar in as well?
Now, what did you say the purple calendar was not?
That's the results exactly from the survey, as close as you can get it.
Okay.
And it also only has 170
days.
instructional days.
So looking at, because I know we've done this before, and then when we get there, it turns into a whole different battle. The Christmas break.
Do you want to start looking at the tangerine and green and the difference with the Christmas? That's
mean-
pretty much the only differences in the 2 calendars.
Right, and why would we go 2 days and then go out? Like, what was the thoughts there?
So the committee had a lot of conversations about that piece in general for the December and the January dates. In December, the tangerine color, you would go to school 3 days, and then you would start your holiday on the 19th, and then come back on the Thursday of January. Students would have a shorter week before their holiday. There would be 3 chances to have food baskets or something like that. They would have 3 meals. We were looking at, that for, instead of a solid week, you would have 3 days, and then they can collect their items that they may need to take home. And then January, when you came back, it would be a shorter week, and we were talking about children's needs and food and things like that. But the only 2 difference in the 2 calendars were, like you just said, the December, January, you would have a shorter week or an entire week, and then you would take those 2 days. It does not affect the ending date of school at all.
Right.
You would just carry them over to have same amount of days, just different preference in a full week or a shorter week.
I know that, and I don't know how it is this year, I can't remember, but before, when we've done it that way, when we get, it's fine until we get there, and then they start calling. And can the superintendent call out? Can we do this? Can we do that? Because they like, it ends up turning into, let's just take the 2 full weeks. That's the only thing that, I mean.
With this calendar coming before you in October, there's a lot of extra months in there for families to plan. They have it in front of them way in advance to work out any issues that might come about at the last minute. I don't know how to answer that.
Well, there is no good
Yeah.
answer. I mean, personally, if I like the green, but Because I think, I don't know, I mean, trying to look through the staff and then go back to on the survey results, I meant to print it out.
Well, when we met, there was lots of conversation from the staff, and we also looked at the students, which we looked at the students' responses, but there was a big consensus in that group about the splitting of the weeks because of what Mrs. Christie Bush, Mrs. Bush said. Some of our youth depend on meals at school, and the thought was if they come to school part of those weeks, and they'll get their backpack and go home, and then the week they come back, they'll get food during school, and then maybe they didn't have as much food over the winter break. There was a big consensus of that in that meeting.
Right.
There was a lot of that. And I know last year I was in that same, like, we've always had 2 weeks off. But then as I started thinking about it and looking at it, I mean, it's kind of like easing back in. I really like the thought of for the kids to come back. And I even think some of the teachers at the elementary school were talking about how it's a little bit easier. Didn't they say something about it being easier to only have a few days when you come back? Like when you start and when you end and when you come back?
Traditionally, in any holiday, you need to go over your expectations and your rules and things like that, just like you would the first day.
Right.
Because, the younger they are, they forget.
Yeah.
So it's a flip of either way. Sometimes transitions are bad for our kiddos.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they're not. So it's just whatever you feel would be the best interest for.
I mean, bringing them back Thursday and Friday, it seems like then they'll have to go right back and start over on Monday for the littles.
Right.
There's a lot. I really listening to the teachers. Which calendar do the teachers like the best?
When that meeting that when we really voted at the end, it was a tie.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And we were like, well, what are we going to do now?
Here we are.
So here we are. It has just for the tangerine is just as many for the green. I mean, it's
Personally,
whatever.
I like the green, and I can tell Dora likes the tangerine.
Actually, no, it's not that I don't. I'm open to whatever. I am highly invested in this year. This will be my son's senior year. So, I'm like, oh, let's look and see what date we're thinking of like where graduation might be. So, things like that. So,
Tangerine is the 25-26 calendar, isn't it?
No.
That's in our packet.
That's more of a yellowy color. These are the two that are the 24, 25.
I've seen the green.
Orange there.
Is there?
Right here.
You can
The
take this
orange.
one, sir, if you would need it.
Not tangerine, but
Okay.
orange, okay. With our packet.
Orange.
Okay.
I don't know what color tangerines you've been eating, but orange I hate.
I think there was also conversation about, because in January you have Martin Luther King Day, and so you come, then you're going to have a day off a few weeks into the new year. So, I mean, I don't really have a preference either way. I just think what I think I'm trying to convey is the committee really made really good suggestions and had good conversation.
Right. Which, I mean, I can
Yeah.
see that. Is there a way that we can make sure these children are fed? Is there a program or something we can set up if we went with green?
May I answer that for you, Mr.
Oh,
Howard?
awesome.
Mr. Howard already discussed that with us when we talked about this calendar. And with the food service, there are not just necessarily a bag that they take home for the weekends like they traditionally do, but there are larger bulk bags that Mrs. Lowry and her team does.
So we could send those home on
Yes,
that
ma'am.
Friday?
Mr. Howard already took care of that.
Okay. So really, okay.
And it's 10
And
days.
our family resource centers and youth service centers are typically folks that help with that distribution, and they have extended day employment as well. So we will feed kids, no matter what decision you make. If you want my recommendation, I don't really have one because we still go 172 days, and we're going to educate them to world-class levels when we have them, and we're going to make sure they're not with us, they're safe as we can make them by feeding them, providing them things to take with them. So.
And it's 10-day holidays either way. It's just the days that you prefer.
I love the students survey though, because they just want to be out.
Absolutely. They had
As many days out
Yes,
as
you
they
want that
can
right?
get.
Yes.
As we look through it, it's odd that they're very similar though.
Yeah.
The parents, the staff, and the students are very, very similar.
That's, I mean, of course, that's the only difference, but that's the only thing that splitting it up, like I said, it just, when it comes down to it, we always end up, it falls on you because they start calling and saying, well, can't he call out to clean? Can't he do this?
The
And
other
so-
thing I brought up was daycare, because if you, if you have younger ones and you have to put them in daycare and you have to split the week,
Yeah.
that was something I brought up because I know daycare is incredibly expensive now, so.
That's true.
Based on the calendar.
Yeah.
So this takes 2 readings, right? If I'm not mistaken?
Yes, sir.
So this is first reading,
Yes, sir.
so I think if we want, if there's any difference or thoughts, we can always,
Ben, what do you think? You have younger, I mean, your kid's a little bit younger, so.
They're my kids' age, right?
Well,
Yeah. Ben's gotta wait and make sure, because we gotta send our kids together, his baby.
I mean, and both of them have their pros and cons. That's the problem. I don't know if either one of them would be, you know.
A bad choice.
Yeah, I feel like either way we go, it's, you know, there's, of course, you can't please everyone. There's always going to be some dissidence somewhere, but I don't think anyone would really have an issue with anything, either one of them. I mean, they both seem plausible. They both have their positives as far as, you know, starting slowly, but, you know, still getting the same amount of days in, listening to the parents, teachers, and kids. So.
What you think of your 2 kids at Christmas?
If if it was just me personally, I would probably go with the green one. But that's just, and only because of the, like, childcare, and it's a little bit easier to plan trips out of town, the family and stuff like that. But that's just for me. But I plan based on work and here in the soccer court. And, I mean, there's
I
a
got
lot of
your
moving
kids, don't
parts,
worry.
so the clearer weekends and full weeks I can get, the better.
I prefer the green one.
I like the green one. Billy?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like you said, there's good and bad in both, but the green one looks pretty good to
If we can
me.
take care of the kids, get them fed, that was the only drawback on the orange one. I said, I like the green one.
We'll take care.
Have no doubts.
And the other good thing I want to point out, I want to commend Ms. Bush and Mr. Watkins and really just the committee in general. This is the earliest we've had a first read on the calendar in my 20 years. What we're trying to do is give families open communication and information quickly, because in the, let's say schools not the real world, in the real world, folks have to turn in vacations in December or January for the entire rest of the year. And if you don't know, if you're not approving a calendar until, open days would be April. Folks have already put in for vacations, and then you have conflicts, and we're really trying to be good stewards to our parents and our community members. And actually, the second thing that Ms. Bush is going to talk about is we've actually brought a second-year calendar for 25-26, so that folks will not only know what next year's calendar is, but the year after, so that we can really work together and plan for when we're going to be out, childcare, trips, vacations, things like that. So.
Is spring break the same in both of these too, Christy?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Is the 25-26 calendar, it looks pretty similar to the green calendar.
It is very, very similar.
Okay.
The very first date for school starting will be on that Thursday instead of the Wednesday. So it'll be August the 14th. Spring break is the same week. I'm sorry, I should have talked about fall first. Fall break is, everything is relatively exactly the same. It's just a few days that are a little different. And you still end in May, not going past that Memorial Day. And it is 172 as well.
I like that it's similar. That way,
Really
consistent for the families.
And on the back end, graduation is close to the end of the week, if not on Friday, so that you can, again, you're planning ahead for graduations and, with our NTI days, we can start setting that date a little earlier. I know the board, got some feedback last year about, not setting it as early, and I think when you do something like this, it allows us to work with the high school and maybe set that a good bit earlier so the folks can get, invitations and printouts and, things like that out.
So I have been asked this several times this year. Put you on the spot. What is, as far as starting after Labor Day?
You mean for having a non-traditional a day?
Just in general, because I've had several people ask about, would we ever go back to that? I guess that's how it was at one time.
So the KRS does allow you to do that. It's the first Monday, closest to the Labor Day. If you look at that, it's just like the purple calendar. You're probably going to go with the 170 day, which I know you all don't like.
Right.
And you can go into June, even though we have 10 NTI days. So, not a lot of districts do that. I could do a survey and try to find out for you, but, they've been out for the summer, and you want to try to get them back in and get them ready to go academically the best we can. And even if you think about sports are still starting early, and they're not going to wait. They're going to be practicing all of June, and they're not going to have their first day of school. But it is an option.
Well,
It's
that's just something I've been asked about, so I figured you all would have the answers more than I would, on that one, because.
I would just think families wouldn't want to go to school starting out in June. They're gonna go through at least till June. If there's any bad weather days, it could be like second week of June.
I guess I would say that they're probably banking on the fact that it's gonna be like the last few years. And as soon as you put it that way, though, is whenever a blizzard's gonna come through. So, depends on how y'all want the weather to roll, I guess.
I'm not a meteorologist. Farmers, man.
But no, I have, just several times this year, I've been asked about starting that. I don't know if that's when we started when I was younger or not.
It wasn't.
I think it was before that as well, mainly for agricultural purposes. I really think the harvest and things like that is what it was started for.
Okay.
I don't ever remember starting.
I can't remember when
we always
back
started
then.
like really close to Labor Day, but that's been a few years ago. But well, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the green version of the calendar.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are we just voting on the 24-25 calendar?
Are we going to do them separate, or do you do them together, or what?
I would do them separate if you
Let's
need
do
to
that.
make an amendment, but we could go ahead and have that as the first read for the 25-26 and then bring it back at the same time, and you would have that 2 years in your plan.
So I'll amend my motion to include the 25-26 calendar.
Okay.
Is that right, ears?
I
Yep,
thought she said make
25-26.
it two motions.
And that was so weird to be talking about.
Did you say make it two motions, or make it the same motion?
No, we could make it the same motion.
Oh, yeah, Becky.
This is the first read.
Yeah, it's the first. So we have a motion by Ms. Hall,
Second.
second by Ms. Ritchie. All in favor? Aye. Passes 5-0.
It's just.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Christie.
Thank
We have
All
no
right.
idea.
Next item is consider approval of designated applicant agents form for FEMA disaster relief 4702. Mr. Watkins.
This is just for you all to, there's a form that we had to have the board sign so that we can turn in everything to FEMA for the wind damage and storm that we had back in the spring. That was, the federal government has given some money back for some of those damages. And this form is from FEMA, just putting me down as the applicant agent so that I can submit everything. Mr. Dameron has actually done most of the legwork on getting the damages and the quotes and all of that stuff, and getting it turned in. And then they'll reimburse us on some of that stuff, so.
That's great.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll motion to approve the designated applicant agent form for FEMA disaster relief 472.
Have a motion by Mr. Dorsey.
Do we need
Second.
to include Brandon as?
That's what I was doing, I asked.
Yes, it's gotta have my name on
So I
it.
need to amend my motion to include Brandon as the designated applicant agent.
Thank you.
in the form for FEMA disaster relief 4702.
Thank you. Motion by Mr. Dorsey, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Bennett, all in favor? Passes 5-0.
Thank you, Mr. Watkins.
Thank you.
Next up is Finance and Human Resource Update, acknowledgement of monthly Clark County Public Schools financial update.
Good evening, everybody.
What?
That's
Did I miss something?
Very excited to hear your presentation.
Apparently,
Yeah.
finances are a
Oh, we
joy.
love it. We love your report.
Your report's anything.
It's like, did I mispronounce somebody's name?
No, it's like when you hear somebody else laughing, it just keeps going.
Oh, okay.
She's okay.
Hello, Ms. Ellis.
Hi. So, in looking at comparison of our receipts and expenditures compared to the same time last year, we're actually, I missed a digit in my thing, we're actually up 1%.
Oh.
It's supposed to be 11%, I see that I missed a digit, so. But our revenues, we're tracking where we normally track at this time. We're 1% up, we're right at the same time as expenditures, and then when you look at taxes, we're up in our property taxes compared to this time last year, but we're down in motor vehicle. It just depends on timing of collection and when people go pay their taxes and all that kind of stuff, so. But I don't foresee, again, the overall tax, 3%, same time last year, 3%, so we're in line for still meeting budget. So there's no major, with that, unless y'all have any specific questions.
Seems like we got a lot of construction going on. Do you foresee property taxes possibly exceeding what we budgeted for? And that might be maybe it might
yeah.
be something that,
Well, the first year that construction goes in, we don't get it on the new property.
Okay.
It has to cycle through for a year, so we probably won't see that for another year or so.
okay.
Because they back off new property in the first tax roll. So it'll probably be 2 years actually before we see it, because those probably won't even come onto the property tax rolls till next year if they're in progress of construction this year.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
But each year the PBA does do property evaluations, and I think they're running a little behind, some of the conversations with Ms. Brady. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if the valuations went up again. They went up almost 8% this
Yeah,
year.
which affects our seat, so it's all balancing act. So.
Yeah, it is a balancing act. She did say that the area they're working on again this year is probably gonna go up about the same, anywhere from 7 to 8% again. So we'll probably see that result in SEEK of decrease next year, but we should see an increase in SEEK due to enrollment, because enrollment is up, which then makes ADA up for our SEEK. So, I mean, we should see that improvement with SEEK next year just for that factor.
No, well, any other questions? Yeah, it's just some knowledge. All right. Any questions on payment salaries or accounts payable? Any questions?
I'll make a motion to authorize payment of salaries and accounts payable.
I'll second.
Motion by Ms. Ritchie, second by Mr. Dorsey, all in favor?
Aye.
Passes 5-0. Thank you, Ms. Ellis.
Billy, are you up and going down there yet?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right, next item is consider approval of policies 03.1231, 03.2231, policies 03.1232, and 03.2232, and 03.1236, 03.2236, update personnel, emergency, sick leave policies, and policies 03.123. Dr. Parrish.
That was a mouthful.
Yes.
Can you reread them? I didn't get it.
It's on the agenda.
So the first 6 are really part of staff retention and recruitment, as well as there's a little other problem solving going on here too. So this will be the first reading of these just because of the new proposal, and we're asking to take all of our classified and certified leave to hourly increments. And the purpose of this is to keep teachers in the building. So before, teachers could only do half days. So now we're revising this to say with a 24-hour notice, teachers can take hourly accruals because it gets them back in the building. And the plan that we've kind of worked on with coverage is that teachers that are in the building on their planning periods will be compensated, and that's coming up in my next request. Right now, they can get $35 an hour, but I'm gonna ask you in a few minutes for $50 an hour to compensate them. Because if we do 3 hours, that's still what we would pay a sub for the day, $3 short of being what we pay the sub for the day. So if they stay under 3 hours, they can use hourly increments. Beyond 3 hours, they would still have to take a half a day or a full day.
So are you saying that if I am a teacher and I have a planning period and I go cover a class, then you're gonna compensate me extra money?
Yes.
That is, okay.
Right, so it's like they're already helping out anyways, so this is a really good retention
Yeah.
piece. Instead of continuing to throw more work on the
Right.
teachers, compensate them for helping out. I know there were many days that I covered numerous classes and even absorbed classes and had
Right.
35 kids, for the day.
Right. I know it's been an issue, especially at the high school. It seems like it's been really hard to get that coverage.
Yes.
And what that boils down to, if the teachers are frustrated but if we're giving them something extra for covering a class, then I think that's a fabulous idea.
And it's a voluntary program.
Right.
So we've talked to the principals about reaching out and sharing, that they'll qualify for the stipend if they'll sign up to want to do, the coverage. So it's completely voluntary.
So I'm a little, just play this out a little bit. So if I'm a teacher and I have a doctor's appointment, right now you have to take half a day.
Right.
Okay.
And you
First
could have
thing
come
I
back
could
at
have come back.
9,
Right.
but you have to take a half a day.
So someone's gonna cover my class for the first period, say, but say the doctor's appointment's in Lexington, I'm gonna be gone for 2 hours to get back, okay? Well, that teacher can only cover for that one session, that one class. Who's gonna cover the second class?
So we have this beautiful spreadsheet of volunteers already.
Okay.
And we know each volunteer's specific planning period. So in the policy, it says that they must give a 24-hour notice to use sick or emergency and a 72-hour notice to use personal. So if they give us a day, we can go to our voluntary sheet and say, you've got this hour, you've got this hour, and you've got this hour. So we've got it covered.
Okay, I'll let you take care of that.
Well, we came to you and did this with classified last
Yeah.
summer, and it took all of us coming together and saying, how can we continue to troubleshoot the fact that we went from 200 subs to now we only have 81 subs? And so we're having so many unfilled positions that we're like, well, duh, if we just do hourly, they can come back to work and be what really the kids need anyways.
I think it's a great little,
sounds great.
a change in the policy. I think it's a great change in policy.
Thank you.
Yes. Do we need to make a motion?
So this is the first
Yes.
reading, yes, for all 3 of these.
Oh, okay.
And then the last one will be different, but I can go
Okay.
ahead and present on it. So.
We probably need to make a motion on, are you done with the policies or are we on to the
So
next?
03.123, there was just some verbiage that's a little antiquated.
Okay,
And so to make it more broad, so people don't have to keep bringing policies back over and over, we've just taken out the district ASOP system and made it very broad to say absence management. So regardless what the district pays for, it can just always say absence management system, because ASOP is what we used to be, now we're Smart Find. And instead of putting Smart Find in there, we're gonna say absence management, so we don't have to keep revising.
I think that sounds great.
okay. Any other questions? We have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the first reading of these policies.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Hall, and I'll second that. All in favor? Passes 5-0. Next is staff retention and recruitment. Consider approval of salary schedule updates.
So this is my second request that goes along with those. Right now, the certified stipend schedule for teachers is $35 an hour. So for sub coverage only, we would like to request it be $50 an hour. So that way we still stay within what Ms. Ellis has calculated for budget for substituting. We're still staying within that. We're just giving them a little bit more of an incentive to help us out and keep a highly qualified person in the classroom. Oh, yeah, and the next part. So we have an ESL cohort agreement, the MOU that we brought before you all last month. So where we're going to put 30 teachers through this first ESL cohort endorsement. But we had a lot of requests about, well, what happens to rank 1 teachers? They don't get recognized for completing the program. So we would like to propose giving them the same stipend that our other national board certified teachers get, which is $2,000. So they would still get something, you know, compensation-wise for completing the endorsement and maintaining the endorsement each year. That's on there. And then we had a name change on the responsibility factor sheet with Mrs. Lowry's retirement impending. We are changing this back to Director of School Nutrition. Did I cover it all?
Yeah. And with discussion with Ms. Lowry, as she is sadly leaving us, we brought before you the schedule at the start of the year, and summer cook at $25 an hour was added for the workers, but we didn't think about long-term of the managers. So everyone making the same amount of money. You have your supervisor who does a lot of planning, and then your managers who manage the summer sites, and they do a little bit more work than the cooks. So they wanted a tiered system added for the summer workers, and all of this is paid out of Fund 51. So that's what Ms. Lowry had asked that we change it to, is the 25, 28, and 30 marks.
Now, this is the first I've heard about Ms. Lowry. What is this time frame?
Yeah,
for
we all kind of
Yeah, we're all kind of
Sorry,
looking at one another.
2024.
Oh,
She's
so
gonna
she'll be
retirement.
here.
She'll be here for the rest of the year.
She's gonna finish out this fiscal year and then January of 2024.
So just a few months.
Okay.
Mm.
Ooh.
So the
And that
job
just-
just got posted
Today, it literally just happened today, so.
Okay.
Well, wish she was here because it was, she's done a great job, so.
We'll
I don't know
definitely have her
what-
back in the next couple of months.
Yeah.
We'll definitely celebrate
Yeah.
what she's done for our school system, our kids, our families, and making sure they're fed at high quality, tremendously high quality, and advocating for just food service supports really throughout the nation with their involvement with.
Yeah, she's at a conference now, that's why she couldn't be here tonight. So, I mean, she's very much an advocate and always participating in things.
I mean, during COVID, that was something when we were homebound and when none of us could go anywhere. Me and Noah just going to pick up his lunch was a big deal because we got out of the house and it was, that was really a cool thing. And I don't know, the whole, she's just done an excellent job. So, excellent job.
Yes, I had a palate fest with her, I still know. I'm not happy. She really has taken care of food service from the financials aspect too, so I've not had to worry about that part of things. She's done a good job with it.
Any other questions? If not, we have a motion?
move.
Motion by Mr. Bennett. We have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Dorsey. All in favor?
Aye.
Passes 5-0. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Next item is internal board business. Consider approval for board members and superintendent to attend KSBA Winter Symposium in Louisville, Kentucky on December 8th through 9th, 2023. This is the mandatory training that each board member needs to complete by the end of each year. Any questions, or do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
By Ms. Ritchie, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Hall, all in favor?
Aye.
Passes 5-0. Next up is superintendent report.
Sure, so this month, I thought we would talk about standard 3, which is culture and climate. A big part of this is communicating with the community, with stakeholders, including our staff and parents, and our students. So a couple things that we've started, I kind of want to update you guys on is we're starting our second cohort of the Student Advisory Council. So there are 20, about half of them are new students at the high school that get to meet with me about once a month. Our first meeting is actually Friday. So we'll go over to the GRC, we'll kind of plan for the year. We've got a couple of surprises, because I want them to have my ear. I want them to report things that we're doing very well. And I want them to report things that we can do better and grow. In the same vein, every month, principals nominate a parent and also a classified staff from their buildings. They come have breakfast with me. And we have basically no agenda. We just have an open conversation on, how we're doing, what are our concerns, what are things that I'm not hearing, when I'm asking principals. And we've had one session apiece with parents and classified staff, and Ms. Smith takes notes. It's a real thing. We go back and look at the notes. We go back as the directors. I send the notes to the directors. What can we tighten up? What improvements can we make on suggestions? And really developing a culture, climate of inclusiveness and that we're all in this together, right? The entirety of Clark County has the job and responsibility of helping educate our kids. And we can only be successful when we are doing it together. And so I really feel positive. Ms. Smith was in there again, it doesn't break the bank. We buy a bunch of Frank's Donuts, people are happy about that. We throw a few fruit trays in and some veggie trays for folks who feel guilty about eating Frank's. And we really just sit down and have a conversation. It's been really a positive thing. There's some other things, getting the community involved with the Hall of Fame, celebrations of board meetings. I mean, favorite parts, used to, board meetings weren't something that people look forward to. I'm not saying we always look forward to every part of the board meeting, but, celebrating our students and our staff that are working hard every single day, is a joy, and it's a privilege, an honor, and really kind of bringing that back to the forefront. At the end of the day, we're not gonna agree on everything that happens, but we can agree that our kids and our staff are doing great things, they're gonna go on to do great things in life. So really trying to make that, even we struggled during the process of educating students, ultimately, we want them to come back and be a part of our community and be successful. So, those are just some examples and some things. The other thing coming up, I do want to big shout out, she'll hate that I'm doing this, Shanda Crosby, yeah, Shanda Crosby, really doing a really good job, not just with social media and the board report. She's coming out with the Cardinal Rule, so it's going to be an online magazine, so you can go and find out things you may not know. Food Services actually did a question and answer series. It's riveting. Get online, read about really not just the challenges, but the joys of feeding 7,000 kids just for one breakfast and about 9,000 for lunch. That's what we do every day in Clark County. So that's just one example, Meet the Principals. It's got some other things on there, but now we've got an online magazine. And each month it'll be updated, each week it's updated, so big shout out to Ms. Crosby. We put that in the board report too. Directly. Any other questions, concerns? Coming off of the fall break, we did have great attendance. Ms. Bush is bragging on it today, 96, 95 in a lot of schools, even at the high school they were 93, 94, give or take. So that's a good news. It means our kids miss us, they want to be back, which is a good thing, so.
Mr. Howard, would you like to celebrate one thing I haven't even got to tell you yet?
Shoot, buddy, I just like celebrating. Let's do it.
Mr. Watkins and I looked at enrollment for today. It's the largest it's been in over years.
Oh, wow. 5,411. Last year we had 51.
I can't say, I'd be afraid that that's the largest.
Largest enrollment in a long time.
That's
awesome.
I don't want to misquote anything. Long time, okay.
That's awesome.
That's wonderful.
Yeah,
That's
it's
great.
great.
Awesome, all right.
It said brevity. And then the go-karts, that's right.
Thank you, sir. Next up is consent agenda items. After review, does anyone have any questions, comments, want to pull any items off for discussion? If not, do we have a motion on the consent items?
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Bennett,
Second.
second by Ms. Ritchie. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Next is consider adjournment to executive sessions per KRS 61.810, paragraph 1, discussions or hearings which might lead to the appointment, discipline, or dismissal of an individual employee, member, or student. We have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Ms. Ritchie, I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Passes 5-0. We are now in closed session.